going to take a look at the 12th tissue salt, silica. Silica is a standalone, and what we'll notice out of all the 12 tissue salts, silica is the only one that really is a standalone, meaning that all the other tissue salts was a cation and an anion. For example, sodium chloride. But silica, you can see that it's in the carbon family, and we know carbon is the brick and mortar, the building block to everything that makes us human. Carbon, we are carbon-based. So silica, because it still has that carbon essence, it's got those 4 electrons in its outer shell, allowing chemical novelty to create all the diverse structures, especially within collagen, because collagen is the most prevalent tissue in the human body that gives us all our diverse structures from tendons, ligaments, fascia, skin, hair, nails. So it really has this amazing property to help with these tissues that need some resiliency to it, because silica allows us, it gives us grit to the body, gives strength to the body, durability to the body. And so when we're deficient in silica, we're going to be plagued with many issues regarding all our connective tissues. So let's take a look at silica. So the first thing I like to think of with silica is defective nutrition. So the children that are born premature, they're going to be silica babies. The ones that were never breastfed will become silica children, or the ones that weren't breastfed long enough will be very defective in nutrition. Especially we see this with the vaccine injuries in the very young, leaving them very feeble, weak, broken, nutritionally deprived, real defective nutrition, leaving them minerally bankrupt. So this constitution, it's really a deprived constitution within nutrition. So we're going to see the silica affecting everything from bones and teeth. When we're thinking bones and teeth, we're also thinking the calcium fluoride, the calcium phosphate. This is a great lung remedy. So any particular matter that gets stuck into the lungs, silica is the homeopathic surgeon to get the garbage out. So it does have an affinity for the lungs. Hair, nails, whenever you see weak and brittle nails, hair, splitting hairs, you're thinking about silica. And an amazing skin remedy. So a lot of these children that were, premature births, pregnancies where the mother just had a horrible pregnancy, maybe nauseous through the whole pregnancy, just sickly, constipated, didn't do well, they're going to be, or they didn't have good nutrition during the pregnancy, are going to create a silica baby. And again, when you think the silica baby, think weak, think feeble, think they lack the grit, they lack the stamina. And these are all the terms that come to mind because silica gives grit. When a plant is lacking in silica, it's just going to wither over, and it's just not going to have that strength to stand up. And this is where we see this remedy. So it's not just physically lacking that strength and endurance and durability. It could be emotionally, it could be, physically, emotionally, in just kind of any arena where we see that lacking grit. We're thinking silica. So it's going to show itself in children that are lacking self-confidence. And again, you don't have to be a child to lack self-confidence, but we do see it very common in the young. And they're going to be the shyness, the very timid type of personalities. And on the flip side of that, they're also going to be very obstinate and very dogmatic, and they're going to be very stubborn in their ways. So we think of, they're very hypersensitive children or silica patients, whether they're elderly or whatever age they're going through, we can see that hypersensitivity, especially to cold. They're the ones that always need the sweaters, need the hats. They'll go to bed with the hats on because the slightest breeze on the head will leave them cold and sick. So it's a good shortness of breath remedy because it does have a strong affinity for the lungs. And we see a lot of these premature babies with a lot of lung issues, a lot of silica children that are just, born weak, and they become susceptible to not just one thing. It's more of a cluster of symptoms. It may be allergies, it may be sinusitis, it may be the asthmas, it may be the ones that are just not developing well, because silica is involved in the connective tissue. So with these children, we do see a lot of bone deformities because it's the ligaments that help keep the bones in place. And when the bones can't stay in place, we may see the curvatures, the scoliosis, the kyphosis, the lordosis, the flat feet. So we're going to see a lot of bone deformities with the silica child, and we're going to see a lot of just that lacking grit. So when we give silica, it helps to give grit to the constitution of the patient. And this is a wonderful remedy when we see skin that doesn't heal well, at the slightest provocation. They're just poor skin healers. And silica is always known in homeopathy as the homeopathic surgeon, because it helped get foreign material out of the body. So that foreign material may be metal fragments, splinters, glass, particulate that gets into the lungs to help get it out. So this is a wonderful remedy to help remove foreign objects. Now, I'll give you a personal take on this. When probably about 10 or so years ago, walking on the beach, doing my grounding exercise, I stepped on glass, and I went home and I thought I got most of the glass out, but there was this irritating one piece that was still in there. So over time, a callus formed over it. And I always knew that there was glass in there. So I had a callus and a piece of glass right in the ball of my foot. And as a result, I just always felt it with every movement, it kind of threw off my gait. And if I really tuned into it, I always knew it was there. It just was more of an annoyance than anything. About a year later, I said, I want to get this piece of glass fragment out. So I took a high potency silica, 1M, 200 C, I don't remember, it was either one or the other, followed it up with a daily dose of the 6X silica. And what I did is I had to break that callus up. So I did a lot of foot soaks and bath soaks to kind of soften the callus with that homeopathic energy, with the high potency and the daily dose of the silica cell salt. Within about a couple weeks, the callus started to soften and the glass came out. It was a beautiful thing. And then over the next month or so, the callus finally healed, and that was a complete cure. So that's silica in action, the homeopathic surgeon removing debris that doesn't belong in the body. I have another silica case, and this is on me, of course. This was probably a couple of years ago. I had a splinter in my right finger. It was one of the fingers. I don't remember which one, but I'm right-handed, so I couldn't really operate the tweezer with the left to remove it intelligently. And this splinter was a deep splinter. You know how splinters are the most aggravating, irritating, painful thing. And so I took the silica late at night, a 1M potency, I believe it was. Again, it could have been 200. And the next morning I woke up, I started milking it, and it just popped out. It was the most beautiful thing when it just popped out. It just removed it with the least stuff I had to do. I didn't have to tweeze it. It just, just kind of milking it, it popped out. So it is the homeopathic surgeon to help remove foreign debris in the body. And again, the foreign debris helps to form, when we see maybe it's a boil or a pimple where it doesn't have that head. So it's going to help the pus form so we can get that garbage out. So it's good for, for unhealthy skin, for pimples that just need, that pus needs to come out, the boils need to come out. So when we see, children where their skin doesn't heal so quickly, they become more chronic skin stuff. Think silica, because it adds grit to the connective tissue. Connective tissue is the most prevalent tissue in the body. And again, it gives us that diverse range of the connective tissues in the body. Now, I always think of this remedy with my brother who had, you know, the stinkiest, sweatiest feet. So when he was staying with us, this was probably, I was in 7th grade approximately. He was going to stay with us for the summer. He was living in Massachusetts. We were in Chicago. And when he stayed with us for that period, he was sleeping in my room in the bunk beds. And I was on top, he was on the bottom, and he took his shoes off, and then the smell just permeated the entire room. And it was just like the most disgusting, foul smell. And it was just very distinct, that memory. Now, fast forwarding with my brother, he had a lot of connective tissue disorders because he was prone to, he did have probably 2 or 3 blood clots, and that resulted in the heart attacks. I think he had a total of 3 heart attacks, you know, which the final one took him out at 61 years of age. So I'm thinking that silica back in the day would have been the most beautiful remedy for him, because when you see the stinky feet, you're thinking silica. So it's going to have the foul discharges, the foul smell, whether it's in the armpits, the feet. You're going to see sweaty heads, sweaty hands, sweaty feet with a real pungent, stinky odor. So it's a great remedy for that. So would it have saved my brother? I don't know, but would it have helped him? Absolutely, it would have helped him, because it would have been a great constitutional remedy for him, because he was physically strong, but mentally lacked the confidence, and he was timid and kind of had that silica energy that was deprived in him, that resulted in what I believe was his connective tissues, leading to the clots and the heart attacks and all that stuff. So I think this would have been a great remedy for him. So when you see smelly feet, sweaty hands, arms, armpits, you're thinking this remedy. This is also a good constipation remedy. So in this profile of constipation, it's usually in the children that are more timid and shy when they're at school and they have to go to the bathroom, you know, but they hold it in. So as they hold it in, because they don't want to go in a public arena, so they want to wait till they get home. And then when they get home, you know, the stool disappeared. It becomes the bashful stool. Where did it go? And so now they're constipated. So I think of this remedy with that type of constipation where they hold it in, you know, they didn't go at the opportune time, and as the result of holding it in, they lost it. So I'm thinking this remedy for that type of constipation. But just think hair, nails, skin that break easy, that just kind of weak nail, even nail biting will see this remedy. This is a great remedy. So when you break a bone and you're in that remodeling convalescent phase, think silica. You're also going to think the other calcium families, but this is a great remedy for that. What else do I want to say? So lack grit, skin, hair, nail, lungs, bones, teeth, defective nutrition. That's some of the main stuff I like to think about with this remedy. And it is a wonderful remedy. Let's see if I forgot anything. So it is a universal cell salt because it is a stand-alone, but you can use it with formula. So when I'm thinking of a skin formula, I'm thinking silica, I'm thinking calcium sulfate, and I'm thinking potassium sulfate as a skin possible tonic we can use. So you can use these remedies in tonics or standalone. So there's many ways we can use these. You can prescribe it for the Sagittarius because Sagittarius is ruled by the planet Jupiter. Jupiter rules the liver. The liver governs the ligaments. So when we see the lax ligaments or the very excessive tight ligaments, we can think about this remedy because it's going to give the grit to the ligamentous structures in the body that keep our spine together, to keep that, you know, prevent us from spraining ankles and spraining joints and all that type of stuff. So this is a good liver remedy to support Sagittarius, but once again, you don't have to be born in the tropicals zodiac sign Sagittarius for me to prescribe it. This is just one way we're looking at profiling a patient. So this is I think, defective nutrition with this remedy. And we say it likes to get stuff out, the homeopathic surgeon. Think cysts and fibroids. This is a phenomenal cyst remedy, especially breast cysts. There was a study in Germany where it was a small population where they had 28 women who had, major cysts in their breast, were on the verge of getting surgery. And so for 3 months, they put them on a cell salt of silica for 3 months. 18 out of the 26 women were cured, did not need the surgery. There were no signs of the cyst left. That's a pretty remarkable batting average. Again, small sample size, but just understand that when you see cysts, you see fibroids, think about this remedy. When you see the stinky feet, the sweaty, hands and feet, the weak constitutions, that lack the grit, it's kind of got that cowardice type of energy because they lack the grit to stand up for themselves, whether it's mentally, emotionally, or physically. Silica is a great remedy to employ to help when we see these, never well since a vaccination, never well since not being breastfed, never well since, being a premature child. And again, their symptoms can be a cluster of a symptom profile. It's not just going to be one thing. We may see, the bad hair, the bad skin. We may see the bad lungs. We may see the horrible nutrition. We may see the minerally bankrupt constitutions. So again, great remedy. I think that's all I wanted to say about silica. And we just finished the 12 tissue salts. And what we're going to do, we're going to close this out, and I'll come back at some point in time to give you some to give you some cell salt formula, some tonics for constipation, a cell salt tonic for constipation, a cell salt formula for anemia. So just generally speaking, when we're thinking of anemia, we're thinking iron phosphate. Iron phosphate delivers the oxygen because of the iron. So it's going to move the oxygen. To exchange the oxygen, we're thinking potassium sulfate. And then to help build the red blood cells, we're thinking calcium phosphate. So those 3 tissue salts would be wonderful for anemias and iron dysregulation type of things. So we're going to, when I go forward with the other presentation on protocols, we're going to look at how we're going to use these tissue salts as a nerve tonic, or as a anemia tonic, or a constipation tonic, or a whatever. This is why this is a whole presentation on its own, because there's going to be many protocols that I will review. But bottom line is, you want to have a good understanding of these tissue salts, how they have an affinity for certain conditions, how they have affinity for certain organs, glands, and tissues in the body. Then we can have more pinpoint accuracy when we prescribe these tissue salts. And again, I love to use them. I like to use 3 tissue salts or 4 tissue salts at a time. And then I may have to come in with other tissue salts as things come up. But wonderful standalone remedies, combination remedies. We can prescribe it based on medical history, prescribe it on acute symptoms, chronic symptoms. We could prescribe it based on a zodiac profile. So again, stay flexible in how we use these, but when we use them, we're using them long term. This is not a quick fix, although we've seen them work beautifully for headaches, resolving pretty quickly. But when we've had a chronic condition for years, don't expect it's going to go away, in a week. It takes time to build up, the tissue salts in the body so that they can have lasting effects to really reverse engineer decades of toxicity, decades of chronicity. So these tissue salts should absolutely be employed for better health, longevity, wellness, and to deal with many of the complexities we see in our patient profile. All right. Once again, thank you for watching. And I will, in future videos, I will do a protocol video of some major conditions that we see in the population. All right. I hope you found this helpful to give you a better understanding of these remarkable tissue salts. Once again, thank you.